We are in Carriacou, Grenada, one of the Windward Islands in the southeast of the Caribbean. Our 33-foot sailboat is in the boatyard, and we have just a few more problems to solve before we can splash.
It's like the old Tin Man. We have to figure out some sort of solution so that we don't lose our steering in the future, because we almost lost it sailing here.
Are we gonna make it? The biggest wild card of all is the autopilot going down.
We're gonna solve our steering problem and our autopilot, and then you're gonna see what happens to an outboard when it sits for over 7 months after you pull it out of salt water and don't freshwater rinse it.
This is Joel. Together with Tony and Jared, he gave up everything to buy a sailboat and go on the adventure of a lifetime. But after a death-defying sail to Cuba, he found himself alone.
Wish me luck on this adventure.
When Michael finished school, I asked her to sail with me, and she agreed. Together, we explored the Bahamas, rescued a dismasted boat, sailed through a tropical storm, battled parasites and fiberglass for a year in the boatyard, adopted an orphan puppy, survived a hurricane, sailed across the Caribbean Sea, and fell madly in love.
Bums on a Boat is about having the courage to go for it, to make mistakes and commit to a dream. Subscribe and join us each week as we improvise, adapt, and overcome.
The day to splash draws nigh. I think I'm using that in context.
Since when are you concerned about using the incorrect terminology? Not since I've known you.
What are you saying? In order to ensure that the hardware stays in, Michael, you want to show? We got this blue Permatex thread locker. It's medium strength, so we can get these babies out if we want to. And so we're using that plus a lock washer to ensure that these are secure and stay in, because these are really what holds the rudder up. Man, that looks real shiny.
Oh.
Oh, looks like you used a little too much there. Note to editor, can we get a before shot of this rudder hardware, por favor?
Our new bolts and our new lock washers are just a little bit too big. We've got this piece, which is purely for hydrodynamics to kind of protect the hardware and, you know, make it glide through the water. But it's a little too narrow for the pieces that we got, so Joel's gonna grind them down and hopefully make it fit. The old bolts that we took off did have some marks from a grinder on them as well. All right, test it out.
We learned the lock washers were kind of doing something too, so I just grinded the lock washers a bit. That really helped. I think we got it.
Now we're going to be experimenting with a product called Prop Glide, and we can't wait to see how this product performs. First, we cleaned all the surfaces with a wire brush drill attachment. Then we sanded all the surfaces with 80 grit. Next, we washed it all down with water before applying denatured alcohol as the final process in the prepping stage.
So we've got the hardener here, and it's a 2-part mix. So this is gonna be the base coat. So I stirred all the gunk up in here. You can feel some chunks on the bottom and on the sides. This whole bottle goes in there. Hopefully we use all of this or most of it. I think we will. Normally when I dive down to scrape the boat, the propeller is the hardest thing to scrape. It's just a big bush and everything is just stuck to it like glue. This Prop Glide, it not only has anti-fouling agents, but also is supposed, when we put the finishing coat on, it actually makes it really smooth. So it's supposed to help it travel through water quicker.
It's a nice thin layer. I think that's what you want, a couple different thin layers.
What are you looking forward to moving forward with this Prop Glide?
Moving faster through the water and you being a little less angry from scraping the boat.
How's the second coat going on?
It's going on great.
You must apply the finishing coat 5 to 15 minutes after applying the base coat.
We just had some extra prop glide. The base coat has an 8-hour pot life. We've already mixed it. So we figured let's try to get the propeller of the outboard while we're at it before the pot life runs out, and just try to get the most out of our money.
That was a super fun project. I knew I was going to enjoy doing the prop glide, and I definitely did. And Joel let me do all of it. It's super satisfying to see it like that shiny gold color. We are enjoying a beautiful sunset this evening. I take that back. I'm enjoying a beautiful sunset. How's that sunset looking, babe?
Not seeing the setting sun. I can see a moon and the blue sky. And that looks nice.
How about the quadrant?
We're in phase 1 of getting that thing in.
Phase 1 of 57?
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of phases here.
Okay. 11mm coming up, babe. Our boat is a frickin' mell of a hess right now, as my dad would say. But I am so stoked because we're working here late at night and I just tried our super cool LED mood lighting and it works. Oh my god. I can't believe I'm actually showing you all this right now. How you doing there, handsome?
Just fine. Got a quadrant on.
One whole quadrant.
One whole quadrant.
How about that outboard?
Did you get it?
No, it's not moving yet.
Oh, yeah. I think I don't know if we've showed you, but we the outboard, we wanted to put some prop glide on it, and then I noticed that it was seized completely.
One thing about the outboard though, I did manage to get grease into it. There's 2 little grease zerks, like at the top and at the bottom of the hinge, and I managed to get grease into the bottom one for sure.
Normally, this is the handle that moves laterally, moves side to side in a swinging motion. Oh, Michael got the grease zerks.
Who's your babe?
All right, it budged. I'm not gonna force it, but I couldn't get it to budge. It's like the old Tin Man. It moved a little.
Oh, do you love me?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it overnight. Pirate Dave told me to get a rubber mallet and just to kind of bash it up a little bit. Said it would loosen some things up, maybe
so gently bash
break some
it.
threes. So I just kind of bashed it here and bashed it there. Michael got some grease in the grease zerk, and then we PB blasted the poop out of it. And now we're just gonna let it sleep. It's another beautiful day here in the neighborhood, a beautiful day. I think someone already wrote that song. Don't copyright me, Mr. Rogers. Okay, what we're doing now, we're putting the steering together. So I took our basically pedestal just apart a little bit so I could see the chain. So we have, a chain that goes around this like gear, and I want that to be centered. Luckily, I didn't have to take the compass off and everything. I could see in there, and I just turned the wheel and I counted how many chain links we had, and then I centered it. Now I'm gonna go down below and connect the cables to the quadrant. I installed the quadrant last night, and then we're gonna center the rudder when I really tighten everything down so that we're tightening the cables with the chain centered and the rudder centered. That way we have full range of motion in each direction and the chain isn't gonna fall off or something like that.
Joel was his pants. He thought the outboard was lost and done forever. But good news, we managed to make progress. It's moving better than ever, especially after last night soaking with the PB blaster. I'm gonna work on old Johnny here, see if I can't get him even more easy moving by just attacking those joints with some grease, some PB blaster, a little brush, and just working him, working him back and forth.
Another beautiful learning opportunity, which means we get to take the quadrant off, pull the rudder shaft back out, and then reorient the rudder shaft and reinstall the quadrant. Because it really matters the orientation of the rudder shaft, because there's a keyway on it. There's a keyway on the rudder shaft and a keyway on the quadrant, and that keyway has to be aligned in the right spot in order for the cables to go into the quadrant in the right spot. We did get it to go all the way into the rudder with the keyway backwards, or on the aft end of the boat, and while the rudder is centered. Cables installed. You can see the tension. Time to move on to the autopilot quadrant. And that means access is going to get tougher because the quadrant goes underneath the main steering quadrant. So we have a Raytheon. You see there's like this gear here. The chain goes around it. The chain is connected to cables, and the cables go to pulleys. From those pulleys there, the cables come around a quadrant that's connected to the rudder shaft.
Still a bit sticky, but it wasn't moving at all, so that's a lot better. He's been in the sweaty locker all day long through rain and sun and cloud and sweat and challenge after challenge. What's the verdict?
Well, I can't get the quadrant on.
So you have to take the one that you just put on all the way off?
I don't know yet. Maybe because I added extra saddle clamps, because it seems like the saddle clamps are in the way, so I can't even get the quadrant onto the shaft because they're hitting the saddle clamps. Everything is apart again. I got the quadrant nice. I showed you the tension. It was all good. And I tried to put the bottom quadrant on, and it wouldn't fit. The bottom quadrant just wouldn't fit. There wasn't enough room. But we've made a huge discovery with this keyway, getting it out of the quadrant for the first time, because it's always just been corroded in there, and we left it because we figured, well, why change the way it already was? Just leave things the way they were last time we installed it. But getting this keyway out is going to allow us to move the quadrant up on the rudder shaft.
Now that you're all comfy down here, you're just gonna spend the night?
Well, yeah, we got a fan. We got a huge spotlight from Mike. Just hauled his catamaran out. He's been in the biz for a long time, was a treasure hunter. He owned his own marine company. He's had many boats. He's ridden out Hurricane Dorian in the Abacos. That was a crazy story. Mike was like, when are you leaving? You're gonna leave, when it gets dark? I said, I'm gonna leave when the job is done. Or until I can't move anymore, because I'm gonna have quite an interesting walk when I walk out of here. I'm gonna be like, Well, we had a great day today. Man, we got the top quadrant in, and it's so cool. I'll show you guys tomorrow. We're calling it a day. But because of the little issue we had and we couldn't install the lower quadrant, we had to pop the keyway out, and we learned we were able to do that, and then we were able to move the top quadrant up against this like frictionless surface that was already on the boat. And that is going to help us to resolve a problem that we encountered on the way here, where our rudder shaft came up out of the rudder, not all the way, but we started to lose our steering, and we were this close to completely losing it. So now where that top quadrant is, it will not allow the rudder shaft to move up even a smidge.
Hello, it's another beautiful day in the boatyard. I'm a little late getting to the boat today because I was making an Instagram story to answer all of your questions on our last episode where I mentioned that I'm launching an ebook. You wanted to know what it's about, when it's going to be available, how long it's going to be available for, and all those other details. So I made a story to tell you about my inspiration behind writing the book, my vision for you in creating this as a gift to you, essentially. It's my story, but it could also be your story because it's a universal human truth about becoming, about finding that adventure and committing to it, and how when you do that, everything changes. Right now, Joel is living his adventure up in the sweaty locker putting together the final quadrant of our steering system, so let's go check on him and see how he's doing. Babe?
How
How you doing?
I think it's time to put the wheel back on and just turn it back and forth and just inspect things, but it's all together, autopilot, and the yeah, I just finished.
Are you kidding me?
Good timing. You really know how to show up at right the perfect moment for you.
I sure do. Let me put that wheel on and test it out.
Ooh, right.
So this is the new amazing difference. The top quadrant is up against this frictionless collar that we learned is installed. So it's frictionless, and this moves freely, and the quadrant will not move up at all. It's not able to, and there's a keyway which is going to hold the shaft down into the rudder. If you're just joining us, we had a problem with the rudder shaft coming up just a little bit, which could cause us to lose our steering. So now the rudder shaft should stay down into the rudder, and that's a big accomplishment for us. This is our autopilot quadrant, and it's fully installed. Give it a test run. Yep, just go all the way to one end and then go to the other end.
As far as I can go.
Okay, go ahead. Head to the other side. Just want to make sure there's nothing jumping off.
As far as I can go.
You can see here we've added some more of these saddle clamps, as many as we had. I've only got I've got three on this one, 2 on this one. You can see back there we've got 3. So we've upped the amount of saddle clamps that we're using to ensure that they do not come loose, because that is what happened on our sail here on our autopilot, and then we lost our autopilot because the wires came out. So the autopilot was trying to do its thing, but it couldn't turn the quadrants. Another failed patch. Alright, so the first thing we want to do now is to clean up the entire dinghy. We're going to use toluene and rags and scrapers and paper towels, and we just want to try to get the surface as clean as possible. We're going to be looking for leaks, we're going to be listening for leaks, and we're hoping to get old Stale Mate up and running again. What a week. Let's go, guys.
You're such a legend.
Oh, we're this.
Guys, isn't he just freaking unbelievable?
Oh, stop it.
He's a beast.
Leave it in the comments what a legend I am if you think I am, but I'm not, you guys. Come on. No, but guys, I'm super happy about the solution that we came up with for the rudder.
We discovered it was there all along.
Move the quadrant up on the rudder shaft so it's up against the low friction collar that was already on the boat.
Genius.
Now the rudder shaft cannot move up at all.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I think we're good. That was why we almost lost our steering, because the rudder shaft moved up. And if it had gone just a little further, then it would have spun and the rudder wouldn't have had no control.
Plus, we now know that it was totally my fault that we lost the autopilot out there, because I didn't really get it tightened up that well.
No one's pointing fingers or anything, but it was just a matter of...
We just needed a beast down there.
You got to really get everything tightened.
Bolts,
so you got to get those eye bolts tightened. We added some extra saddle clamps, so we have like a ton of saddle clamps, more than...
Really overdid it.
When we came here, we only had 1 saddle clamp on all of those wires.
Yeah.
So now we're just overloaded, all of them tight and snug. Everything is moving really.
Looking good.
Yeah.
And
Johnson's coming back to life.
Might just do it.
Stop! Giving her some shock. She's
Except with his grease gun. Well, you don't speak too soon.
She's got life. I know, but she's.
Wait, I'm confused. Is Johnson a she?
Johnny.
Because we always call him Long
I don't know.
Gone.
Okay, so the next thing is Stale Mate. She's holding air. We inflated her. Stay tuned. We're going to see how much air she has when we come back. If she's lost air, we're going to go through with some soap. We're going to find the bubbles. We got a super amazing neighbor here in the boatyard.
Oh, Mike.
Speaking
of legends.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, he said he has this hack for patching up dinghies that, you know, it's super cheap and really amazing, and he's
guaranteed to work within 15 minutes.
Yeah, so we're gonna try this hack out. We're gonna show you guys. So if we have any holes in old Stole Mate, we're gonna patch it up. All right, that was a great week. We're this close to splashing.
And in the meantime, a thunderstorm.
A thunderstorm is coming. You guys stay tuned. We're really hoping that next episode is the splash episode. We're that close. We got to test out our inboard. A few little things, make sure Johnny's working, make sure Stale floats.
I'm going to spend a good chunk of time just polishing, cleaning up the boat, and then we're going to be ready to get back to boat life. Boat life, baby!
Let's go, baby! Subscribe if you haven't already. Stay tuned. Tap that like button.
And check me out on Instagram.
Check her out on Instagram, and
Love
remember,
to connect with you guys
Michael's
there.
book is coming out March 3rd.
March 3rd.
March 3rd. She's releasing an ebook on the website. It's all happening here.
Oh, good stuff.
At Bums on a Boat.
These are the tales of BOAB.
Bums on a boat. BOAB, baby, we're BOAB, baby, we're BOAB.